We will wait 2 more minutes for the rest of the students to join, and then we'll start. I hope you all can hear me. My voice is clear to you all. We'll wait for 2 minutes for the rest of the students to join, and then we'll start. Um, is my voice clear to you all, guys? Can you all hear me? So today we are going to do one of the project, okay, and we'll try to cover two topics, basics. Okay, one is for classification, the topic which we left in the last class. That was the classification matrix or the confusion matrix, which is known as. Okay, let's start. Okay, you all can see my screen. Just give me the confirmation in the chat. You can see my screen or not. Okay, thanks for the confirmation. Okay, so now what we are going to see is we are going to see a matrix which is known as confusion matrix. Okay, we all know what a matrix is and how to create a matrix. Now this matrix holds a special place in all our machine learning algorithms, because with the help of this matrix we classify that how many points are correctly predicting our output and how many points are not correctly predicting our output. Plus, with the help of this matrix only, we classify two more important terms which are known as precision and recall, which in combination also give us the F1 score, which is very, very important for changing your model, machine learning model, into a production model or into an industrial standard model. Okay, so let's start that what is classification and what is confusion matrix. Okay, basically. So from the sklearn library, because this confusion matrix also comes in the sklearn library itself. So from sklearn, I have imported a matrix. Okay, now I have taken three different classes: C, D, and F. Okay, C is for cat, D is for dog, and F is for fox. Okay, your data set can be consist of two classes only, binary classification, or can consist of 10 class, 100 class, 20 class, whatever it can consist. Okay, it's basically for unsupervised learning, and in case of supervised learning, it's basically for classification. For regression, we mostly use R square. Okay, but for classification, we use this confusion matrix either in supervised learning or in unsupervised learning. Okay. Okay, so precision is what? See, the precision of cat class is number of correctly predicted cat out of all the cats. Okay, precision is correctly predicted cats out of all the cats predicted. Okay, what this means is, first see here, this is our confusion matrix. Okay, this is our confusion matrix. it gives us two values, actual values and the predicted values. Okay, actual values and the predicted values. See, these are my actual values and these are predicted values. You can write it as P or A as or 0 or 1. Okay, so what this actual values and predicted values means, suppose if I have two classes only. Okay, suppose if I have two classes, like in your case of your tumor or the cancer you are trying to, breast cancer, that's it, that malignite or the other form. Okay, so suppose if I have malignite, let's suppose I have this 0 output and 1 output, and here I have also predicted this 0 output and 1 output. Okay, so in this case these two diagonal elements, okay, these two diagonal elements or these two diagonal values of the matrix correctly predicts the output. Means our actual value was 0 and we predicted the value 0. Okay, our actual value was 0 and we actually predicted the value 0. And in the second diagonal element, our actual value was 1 and we predicted it to be 1. Okay, in rest of the two cases or in rest of the values which are not in the primary diagonal, we get a negative result or we get a false result. Only in the diagonals we get a true result and in the rest of the values we get a false result. What we mean by false result is that, suppose my actual output was 1, but due to some error in my model I predicted the output to be 0. Okay, I predicted the output to be 0, which you can say that is a false positive. My actual was output was 0, means I was not having that cancer. Okay, but my output predicted that I have that cancer. Okay, here 1 stands for, here 1 stands for that I have the cancer, you have that cancer or any other thing, any other disease, suppose COVID, and 0 stands for not COVID or no COVID. Okay, and I am doing that RT-PCR test. Okay, I have taken the RT-PCR test. I have data of RT-PCR test of some of the patient. Okay, here 1 denotes COVID and 0 denotes not COVID. Okay, now we'll be able to understand it quite well. Okay, suppose I actually have COVID, then my RT-PCR test predicted that yes, I actually have COVID, which means true positive. My machine learning algorithm was working correctly. But in second case, I was not having COVID. Okay, still my RT-PCR test predicted it that I have a COVID result, means false positive. Okay, false positive. This is true positive and this is false positive. Now in second case, I was actually having COVID. Okay, I was actually having COVID, but my RT-PCR test said that I did not have COVID. Okay, this is much more worst case considering with COVID, because if you don't have and your RT-PCR test comes positive, then you can take further more test and check that whether you actually have COVID or not. But you actually have COVID and your RT-PCR test comes negative, this will lead to different consequences or bad consequences, like you can spread that virus to multiple different persons. Okay, so I don't want this value to come. Okay, I want this false negative to be minimum as possible as 0. Okay, I want this false negative value to be as close as to be 0. Okay, now this is true negative, which means I actually do not have COVID and my RT-PCR test predicted the correct value. So in this first and second diagonal, you can see that my RT-PCR test is able to predict the correct output. Okay, my RT-PCR test is able to predict the correct output. But in rest of the cases, I'm not able to get the correct output. These two yellow boxes are able to give me the correct output. Okay. So this is known as your confusion matrix, which will be giving you values that for how much values you are able to get the correct result and for how much values you are able to get the wrong result. Okay. Let's see this in practical first and then we'll move to what is precision and recall. Okay, let's see this in practical. Okay. Suppose my output values are, because I've taken this three, not two, I'm just taking three values. C indicate cat, F indicate fox, and D indicate dogs. These are my output values. Okay. And the values I am able to predict with the help of my model. Okay. The values which I am able to predict with the help of my model are like this. Okay. Now I know how to calculate the accuracy with the matrix dot accuracy score. So I'm able to get that I'm getting a accuracy of 56%. That I'm able to predict 56 values accurately. Okay. I'm able to predict 56 values accurately or 56% of the values accurately. Okay. Now after this, here comes my confusion matrix, which will give me a detailed result or detailed explanation of this accuracy model. Okay. This confusion matrix is going to give me a detailed explanation of this accuracy value. Okay. So first I had cat, then I had dog, and then I had fox. Okay. And this is my primary diagonal, which will show me that how out of how much values I have predicted it to be correct. Okay. So in case of cat, okay. So in case of cat, I was having a total of 10 values. Okay. I was having a total of 10 values. And out of these 10 values, I predicted only 4 values correctly. In rest cases, I predicted 2 values to be dog and 4 values to be fox. Okay. Out of these 10 values, I predicted 2 values to be dog and 4 values to be fox. This is this is the maximum detail you are able to get from your machine learning model, that at least at which position it is wrong, plus what's the wrong result we are going to get. Okay, if we are getting a wrong result, then what is the wrong result. Okay, in case of dog, okay, in case of dog, I was having a total of 6 plus 2 plus 1, which equals to 9 values, out of which I predicted 6 values correctly. Okay, and I predicted 3 values incorrectly. In one figure or in one photo, I was able to predict that dog to be cat, and in 2 photos, I was able to predict that dog to be fox. Okay, this is how I was able to get my incorrect result. The remaining 3 incorrect results, the 2 values were fox and 1 value was cat. And in the last case, out of 6 values, I predicted 4 values correctly, and I predicted 1 value to be cat and 1 value to be dog. Okay, out of 6 values of fox, I predicted 4 values correctly, 1 then dog and 1 cat error. Okay, so with the help of your confusion matrix, you can exactly calculate that how much accurate value we are able to predict for cat, how much accurate value we are able to predict for dog, and how much accurate value we are able to predict for fox. Okay, you can calculate the individual accuracy of all the 3 classes. In case if you are having 2 classes, then 2 classes. If you are having 10 classes, then 10 classes. Okay. Now coming on to precision and recall. Okay. Now coming on to this precision and recall. I hope I am clear to you all guys till now. I hope I am clear to you all guys till now. If you have any doubt, please let me know in the chat. Yes, sir. Okay. Thanks for the confirmation. Let's just move further. Now let's just see what is precision and recall. Okay, so this precision is out of all the points model declared to be positive. Okay, for all the points our model was giving positive result, what percentage of them are actually positive? Okay, what percentage of them are actually positive, which we means is that out of all the positive value my model is able to predict, what percentage of the values is actually positive. And to calculate the precision, I can again going to use the confusion matrix, in which case I'm going to divide this true positive rate. Okay, I'm going to divide this true positive rate with true positive plus false positive. Okay, I'm going to divide this true positive rate with true positive and false positive. That's how I'm going to calculate my precision. Okay, true positive means all the two values my model is able to predict, plus all the two values my model is able to predict, plus all the actual positive values which my model was not able to predict, or the false positive. Okay, my values was 0 but my model said that it was true. Means false positive means I was not actually having COVID, but my model said that I was having COVID. Okay, I was not actually having COVID, but my model said that I was having COVID. This is known as false positive. Now, recall is just opposite of precision. Recall is out of actual positive value. Of out of all the persons which were having COVID, what percentage of the value our model was able to predict positively? What I mean by this is recall is that out of all the values of out of all the people which were having COVID, how much percentage of the value my model was able to predict. Okay, so in case of if I have a data set of COVID, I want my recall to be minimum. Okay, I want my recall to be minimum. Okay, suppose in case of COVID, I want my recall to be minimum. But suppose if we have a different case in which I want my precision to be minimum. Suppose we have a different case in which I want my precision to be minimum. Means suppose I'm able to develop some type of product. Okay, if I'm able to develop some type of product and I don't want any product to be faulty. I want all the products to be without fault. I'm making a machine which is able to detect the default in my model or default in my product. So I want my machine to detect zero false positive. Okay, I want my machine to detect zero false positive. Okay, in that case, I want my precision to have a value of 1. Means all the positive values should be positive. Means all the persons which are having COVID, my model should be able to detect them as COVID positive. Okay, so depending on the scenario or depending on the condition or depending on the data set, we can change our model or we can fine tune our model. We can increase the accuracy or decrease the accuracy of our model. We can also decrease the accuracy of our model depending by changing some of the conditions, so that we can increase or decrease the accuracy. Because depending on the data set, our data set can ask us to increase or decrease the accuracy so that we can have a good score for precision and recall. Okay, precision and recall both are very important for any type of machine learning model. Because I have given you an example of COVID, and in COVID example, our precision can be anything. If we have a poor precision rate, then it's okay, then it's fine for us. Suppose if a person is not having COVID and still our test is giving COVID, then the person can have another test unchecked result. But if the person is not having COVID, oh sorry, if the person is having COVID and our result is saying that we are not having, the person is not having COVID, then that's the worst case scenario for us. Okay, so in case of COVID scenario, in case of COVID, I said our recall should be best. Okay, our recall should be best. Means our recall should be have a maximum value of 1. Means out of total positive value, we should be able to detect all the positive value. there should be no false negative. Okay, in case of COVID, we don't want any false negative. That's in the similar way, we have some conditions in which we don't want any false positive. Okay, we have some examples in which we don't want false positive. So this is how we are able to get this classification matrix or classification report. Okay, this confusion matrix will give you only accuracy, and then we have this classification report which is going to give you accuracy also, plus precision also, and plus recall also, and combination of both, which is known as F1 score. Suppose in one case I want both precision and recall to be good, then that to get that value I can use F1 score, which is combination of both precision and recall, or you can say arithmetic mean or harmonic mean of both precision and recall. So you can see from this classification report, okay, that precision for cat class is 0.4%, precision for dog class is 0.6%, 66%, and precision for fox class is also 66%. Okay, the total accuracy of my model is 56%. Okay, the total accuracy of my model is 56%. Out of total 25 values, 10 values are of fox kind, 9 values are of dog kind, and 6 values are of cat kind. Okay, this is my model accuracy. Okay, this is my precision score, recall score, and F1 score. We get precision, recall, and F1 for each individual classification or each individual class. Okay, do you have any type of doubt? Please let me know in the chat. If anyone has any type of doubt, let me know in the chat. Sir, can you explain about support? Support is basically the total number of values. Okay, you can see here in cat class, suppose cat. Okay, so actual value of cat was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have 6 values of cat class actually. Okay, support will show you actual value of cat was 6. Okay, we have total of 25 values. Support is showing me total of 25 values. So support is going to give you basically total values. Okay, total values of cat class, total values of dog class, total values of fox class. Okay, any further doubt? Manish, any further doubt? Okay, let's start with our first project. Okay, which is basically known as facial recognition. Okay, which is basically known as facial recognition. So what we are going to try in this is that we are going to have a data set in which we'll have photo of 40 different persons. Okay, we are going to we are going to have photo of 40 different persons. Okay, and for each person we are going to have 10 photos. For each person we are going to have 10 photos. Okay, see here example. For this person I am having this 10 photos in all the different light conditions and from all the angles of his face. For this next second person I'm also having this 10 photos. For next second person I'm also having 10 photos, and so on. So I total have on total I have 400 photos. Okay, 40 persons, and for all person I have 10 photos each. If you want to see the data set, see here, this is my data set. Okay, for one person I have 10 photos, then for second person I have 10 photos, then for third person I have 10 photos, and for total I have 400 photos. Okay, and for total I have 400 photos. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have given all this photo numbering from 1 to 40. That first person has an ID 1, second person has an ID 2, third person has an ID 3, and so on. So if I'm getting a photo of third person, then my model should be able to predict third, number 3. If I'm getting a photo of 10%, then my model should be able to predict 10. Okay. In place of ID, you can also give the name. In place of ID, you can also give the name. But as we all know, okay, that photos have more size than our datas. Okay, each photo is of some MBs, 10 MB, 20 MB, 30 MB. Sometimes if we are taking a high dimension or high quality photo, so our photo can be of 200 to 10 MB also. But our data is of only some of the KBs like 10 KB, 20 KB, and so on. So processing of our data is fast and easy because our data is a numerical value, and numerical values takes less space and less amount of time for calculations. But in the other way, photos, because photos have larger values, larger dimension, and larger size, they take higher amount of time. So to decrease the time and to increase the efficiency of our model, or to increase the accuracy of working of our model, or to decrease the time used in our model, the total time taken by our model, we use a concept known as PCA, principal component analysis. Okay, in which what we do is we try to reduce the dimensions. Okay, suppose we have some points which have x, y, and z axis. Okay, and x has some value, the position value, y has some position value, and z has some position value. Most of the values are z, only some values are 0.1 or 0.2. So if I ask you to reduce one of the dimension, just reduce or just delete the sum of the dimension, so that we have minimum amount of information loss. So which dimension you are going to delete, or which dimension you are going to release? X, Y, or Z? Which dimension you are going to release? Just give me your answer in the chat, that which dimension you are going to delete or release if I ask you to delete the or decrease one of the dimension, so that we have minimum possible loss of information. Z. Okay, Z dimension. Okay, so yes, we are going to delete this Z dimension, and we are going to only have this two dimensions which are known as x and y, because x and y will contain most of the information. Okay, in dimensional reduction we know that we are going to lose some of the information, but we try to reduce dimension in such a way that the loss of information is minimum. Okay, loss of information is minimum. With the help of dimension reduction, we are going to decrease the time taken by our model to predict the output, and we are going to reduce the efficiency of our model also, because it will take less computational power, then it will be able to give more number of outputs in the same amount of time, which will decrease the costing of our model also. Okay, cost and time are the most important factors for selection of our model. Okay, now this was my 3D model. What if I have a 2D model? Okay, what if I have a 2D model? So in this case, I have these points, that dots are my points, which have different values of x and y. Okay, for different values of x and y, I have plotted this z dots. Okay, so in this case, if I ask you that which dimension should I remove, or what should I do to reduce the dimension of my model? Okay, what should I do to reduce the dimension of our model, so that I can change this 2D model to a 1D model? Okay, what should I do to change this 2D model to a 1D model? Give me your suggestions in the chat. What should I do to reduce this 2D model to a 1D model? What are the techniques I can use? You have already learned about the technique in your previous classes. Okay. According to you, what technique should I follow? Z, kernel. Okay. Okay, you are correct. We can introduce a new axis known as Z axis. Okay. And on Z axis, we are going to plot the projection of both X and Y axis. Okay. We'll have some of the, will not be able to retain all the information, will lose some information, but it will reduce the dimension of our from 2D dimension to 1D dimension. So we'll take a new axis, Z axis. Suppose Z axis can be both addition of X and Y also, or Z can be square, X square plus Y square also. Okay. Z can be X or Y also, like this XM plus YM, like we have seen in linear equations or linear regression. We have zero value of C and XM and YM. So in this case, what we are trying to do is we are trying to project. Okay, these are my red points. So for all the red dots which have some values of X and Y, we are trying to draw perpendicular on the Z axis, a perpendicular on the Z axis, so that we can get a projection of both X axis and Y axis on this Z axis. Okay. So from if we are seeing from this end, so we are going to get projection of all these points on the Z axis. And if we are seeing from bottom end, so we are going to see all the projection of bottom points on the Z axis. Okay. Z axis won't be able to will be able to help both the projections. Okay. Z axis won't be able to have both the projections from X and Y direction. It will be having only one of the projection, like from Y direction or from the X direction. Okay. So these are my red points, which are was my actual points, and these ground points are my projection points when I have drawn perpendicular to the z-axis. Okay, so I want my z-axis to be having a best fit line. Okay, to be having a best fit line, and this best fit line should be able to retain the maximum amount of features it can. Okay, that this best fit line should be able to retain the maximum amount of features it can. Okay, and how I'm going to see that it has the maximum amount of features or not. Okay, so by considering the variations, okay, by considering the variation on the z-axis, what I mean by variation is that on z-axis how much distance these points are plotted. Okay, because the distance is only giving me is going to give me the information, because all the information is stored in distance. So I'm going to see that how much distance all these points are plotted from each other. If these points are at far, if at sufficient far distance from each other, then I'm going to get most amount of feature. And if these points are coinciding or colliding above each other, then I'm going to have the minimum amount of features. Okay, then I'm going to have a minimum amount of feature. Let's see here with the help of this article. See, these are points, 2D points, and I'm moving these 2D points to a 1D plane. Okay, so I'm drawing the projection of all the points. Okay, and I'm drawing the projection of all the points, and I'm trying to check that which projection is my best projection. Okay, which perpendicular line will give me the best projection of all the points. Okay, let me show you with the figure. Okay, now see this figure. You all can see this figure. Okay, these are my 2D points, and this black line is my best fit line which I have drawn. Okay, so if I'm drawing this best fit line, suppose in this way, see, you can have a different features. And as the best fit line cuts this pink line, okay, you can see that both all the x point or all the projection points, which are the red points here in this case, all the red points are at the most farther distance as possible when these l- points are cutting, when this black line is cutting this pink points, okay, or when this black line is in parallel with this pink points, okay, when this black line is parallel with this pink line. And in all the rest of the cases, in all the remaining cases, okay, when I'm trying to see the features, you can see that the distance of features is decreasing. Distance of features is decreasing, which means I'm going to get a minimum amount of output. Okay, I'm going to get a minimum amount of output. So what my PCA does is, my PCA tries to find the best fit line so that I can have this red lines which you are able to see, the projection line. The summation of all these projection lines should be minimum. Okay, the summation of all these projection lines should be minimum. Okay, so that I'm able to get most amount of information, because in this condition which is this figure is currently, you can see that the of all the summation of all the red lines is maximum, and in case the summation is maximum, we are able to get a minimum feature. So what I want, that projection line, the perpendicular line you are drawing here, the distance of all the perpendicular line, if we do the summation of distance of all the perpendicular line, we should get a minimum possible values. Okay, so you might be confusing this parallel line or this best fit line with a linear regression model. Okay, but it is not similar with the linear regression model. Okay, so what the main aim of PCA is to, the main aim of our PCA is to spread the values along the maximum axis, and the projection error or the sum of red lines should be minimum. Okay, the projection error, the sum of red lines should be minimum. So these are the two important factors our PCA works on, or these are the two important motives of our PCA. Okay, so let's see here. So if you have any doubt that PCA is similar like linear regression, it is not similar like linear regression, because in linear regression we try to minimize this error. Okay, this error line is not a perpendicular line, but in PCA we try to minimize this projection line, which is known as the perpendicular line. Okay, this is perpendicular on this best fit line, and here we don't draw perpendicular on the best fit line. Plus, in regression, we try to classify or we try to predict a y value. Okay. In linear regression, we try to predict a y value. But in case of PCA, we don't have such thing. Okay. We don't have any type of y which we are trying to predict. We have just two values, two dimensions, x1 and x2. And we are trying to minimize both the dimension in one single dimension, which is known as x. Okay. Now, after that, we have a small concept of known as flattering. Okay. So in flattening, what we do is, see here, I have created an array. Okay. In flattering, I change a 2D array to a 1D array. Okay. In flattening, I change the 2D array into a 1D array, because we all know that our machine learning model takes values one by one. Okay. Takes values one by one. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just change this 2D array into a 1D array. See a y dot flatten, and the output of this 1D array is row wise matrix. A 1D row wise matrix, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now let's move on to our project. So I'm going to use this PCA, the concept of PCA and the concept of flattening in both the concept in our project. Okay. If anyone has any type of doubt with the help of PCA of flattening, or with any of the concept of PCA and flattening, please let me know in the chat so that I can clear your doubt at this particular place. Is PCA clear to you? PCA is just a method to reduce the dimensionality of any type of object or any type of data set. If we have numerical data also and we want to reduce the dimensionality or reduce the number of features of that data set, then also we can use PCA. Anyone having any type of doubt with PCA or flat turning? Please let me know in the chat. Okay, let's move further then. Okay, so see here, what I'm going to do is I'm importing your matplotlib, and from matplotlib I'm importing a function known as imread, which is useful to read an image file. Okay, you can see the location archive3 1,1. I'm reading this first file. Okay, you can see the dimension of this first file is 64 cross 64, means we are having a 64 cross 64 pixels. Okay, and each pixel will be having a pixel value, which will be the combination of RBG values, or in case this black and white values. Okay, 64 cross 64. Keep in mind that we are getting a value of 64 cross 64. So when I'm reading this image, I'm storing this image in a variable im, and when I'm printing this variable im, I can see that this im is nothing but a matrix. Okay, a 64 cross 64 matrix. You can see here the shape, a 64 cross 64 matrix, which is having pixel values. Okay, these values are the pixel values. What this pixel value stand for? 0 stands for particular byte pixel, and 255 stands for particularly black pixels, because a pixel can have a value variation from 0 to 255 only. Okay, so what we have done is we have converted this image file into an array, a numpy array, so that we can do our multiple operations on that particular array. Okay, because we all know that each image file consists of multiple pixels, and each pixel has a pixel value. In case of the images of black and white, it will have a black and white pixel only, which varies from 0 to 5. And in case of it has a color photo, then color photo will have a pixel size of RBG, where that will having value 0 to 5, blue will having a value 0 to 5, and green will having a value of 0 to 5. So we'll have a total values of 255 into 255 into 255. Okay, so now the first thing we have to do is we have to convert this whole data set into a array, so that we can perform our PC and we can perform our operations on that particular data set. Okay, so I've done this task for you guys. I converted this whole data set into an array. Okay, and then I've transformed that array into a CSV file, which is known as face underscore data dot CSV. Okay, face underscore data dot CSV, because we have seen that each photo is of 64 pixels, so each image will be converted. Okay, each image will be having a total of 64 cross 64 pixels, which is 4096. Okay, 4096. So for each image will having a 4096 columns. Okay, this is for image number 1, and in the same way we have total of 400 images, 40%, and total of 10 images of each type. So we'll have a total of 400 images. So the shape of this face data.csv is 400, which is the number of rows, into 4069, which is the number of columns, because each image will be having a 406 pixels, and in each column will have that pixel value. Okay, and each image will having that pixel values. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this complete data set. Okay, flatten this complete data set. See, I printed or flattened this complete data set, and I'm going to show you the dimension. The dimension output of this dimension is 1. So to confirm the flattening operation, so what I have done is I have converted this image data set into a array consisting of pixel values, and then I have flattened this complete data set to get a 1D array. Okay, this is how I have reduced the dimension. Now let's apply PCA. So as we have seen that in PCA we'll get a best fit line which will show us the maximum variation. So when we are applying PCA on these photos, okay, we are getting this type of images, which is the particular conditions in which we are getting maximum variation in the image, or we are able to detect maximum numbers of features from that image. Okay, so for number one, or for ID one, we have 10 images. So with help of this converted images, we'll try to classify that how much number of images do we require. Okay, how much number of images do we require to get a complete feature of a man. Okay, because we by default we have 10 images, we can, okay, and we can have a value, or we can have a value of PCA in which we can have only, we will use only first four photos, and first four photo will be able to get 90 to 95% of the information of this particular image. Then why we are going to use the rest of the images? Okay, then we are not going to use the rest of the images, because it will unnecessarily increase the time and the amount of features, which will increase the complexity, the computational complexity of our data set. Okay, so if we are using four image, and four image is able to completely give us the 100% of the information, or 90 to 95% information, that we are not going to use any further images. Okay, then we are not going to use any further images. This is known as PCA. It is reducing the dimension of your images, plus also reducing the number of features, so as to decrease the time required and the computational capacity required. Okay, so how we are going to check that how much number of components we are going to use? We are going to check that number of components with the help of this variation matrix. Okay, variation matrix. Variation means features. So we'll choose a value of variation, or we'll choose a value of number of components in which we are able to get 90 to 95%. Okay, 90 to 95% of the variations. Suppose this is my 90% variation mark, and I've drawn a perpendicular line here, and you can see that for four images, I'm able to get 90 to 95% of the variation. Means I'm able to get 95% of the information. So why I'm going to use all the 10 values, or all the 10 images? I'm going to just use four images of each and every type. Okay, because from four images, I'm able to get all the possible number of features. Okay, so you can say that each image will be divided into number of features, which will which can work, or which can denote a best fit line. Okay, which can denote a best fit line. Here we have values of q1, q2, q3, q4, which will be acting as a weight, or in case of linear regression, this q1, q2, q3, 4 will be acting as value of m. Okay, so if we are getting able to get this 95% of features, and if we have a value of q1, q2, q3, q4, we will able be to recreate this original photo. Will able be to recreate this original photo. Okay, so this is how we are going to test our images and train our model. Okay, so for training we are going to use some images, and for testing, because we cannot test our images directly with the output. Okay, because we cannot test our images directly with the output, we are again going to use this PCA. Okay, we are again going to use this PCA on the test dataset also. Okay, we are again going to use this PC on the test dataset, so that we are able to get the eigenvalues, and will able be to compare the eigenvalues, so to get a particular output, or to get a particular class. Okay, we'll be able to calculate a eigenvalue through which we will be able to get a particular class, that this image should belong to which class, to ID number 1, 2, 10, or 40. Okay, let's see, let's try to apply this PCA. So see, I have imported all the important library like time function, matplotlib, numpy, pandas. Okay, and you have already seen this SVM matrix. We have already done the SVM. Now this PCA classification report and test train split. Okay, these are all the libraries, and these are just two important features which the help of which I'm able to see the original images, and with the help of other function I'm able to see the eigen values or the eigen images. Okay, and in this you can see one function known as emulators. So if I try to explain emulators is basically going to give me the numbers of values I'm going to use. Okay, so in for loop, if I'm running the for loop, so how much time I'm going to run this for loop. Okay, so here see, I have taken each sleep and repeat, and if I'm creating an emulator or creating an emulator object of it, and I'm printing that emulator object, it will give me value 0 for each, 1 for sleep, and 2 for repeat. It will assign an index position to all these values, and with the help of emulator we can also suggest a value from where to start the index position. Like in the second case, I am giving a value 2, means my index position will start from the second position itself. So I'm giving you a value of geek, to G is for 2, E for 3, 4 again for E, and 5 again for K. Okay. So with the help of emitter, I'm just going to give you the index position. If you are not giving an index position, that by default value starts from 0. And if you are able to give an index position, the value from will start from that index position. Okay. So now you can see here, I'm reading that dataset, df dataset. Just run this line, and run this line, run this line. So now you can see that I'm reading this df dataset. If you want, you can see this. This df dataset is nothing but 400 rows and 497 columns. Means all the 400 photos, and here I'm getting the target. The target is my result or end values which I should be able to classify, which I'm going to use. For that, I'm going to use SVM model. Okay, 0 means the 0 position, and 39 means the 39%. Okay, I have total 40% or images of 40%. For 0 means I'm detecting the person 0, and for 40 I'm detecting the person 39, means I'm detecting the 39% or the 48%. Okay, so for each category or each target value, I have 10 images. Okay, for each target value, I have 10 images. Okay, if you want to check the shape, you can check the shape also. 400 cross 400, 400 cross 400, 4696, because my image was of 64 cross 64 pixels. If your image is of different pixel, you will get a different value at this particular position. Okay, you can see if I'm trying to see the original images, this is all the values I'm able to get. First, target value 2, target value 3, target value 4, target value 5, and so on. Now I'm going to do, I'm going to just apply the simple SVM after applying the PCA. Okay, so now I'm going to apply test and train split, so that I'm able to divide this asset into test and train different parts, so that I can get a classification report out of it, or accuracy percentage. Now I'm applying the PCA. Okay, I'm applying a PCA, and the number of components, by default I'm taking 150 values. Okay, by default I'm taking 150 values. You can change the amount of values whatever you want. Suppose I'm taking only 20 values. Okay, so you can see here that I'm not able to get the exact variation, or I'm not able to see how much number of components I should use to get 95% or 90 to 100% of the variation. So for that, here I'm plotting the variation. Okay, explanation variation ratio. What I'm going to plot again is, now I'm going to plot the cumulative sum. cumulative sum of explanation variation ratio so that the variation goes on increasing. And this will give you an elbow curve. Okay. And from that elbow curve, I can check that at which particular value I'm able to get 90 to 95% of the variation. So here, if I draw this 95% line, so you can see that at a value which is equal to 80 to 100, which is equal to around 90. Okay. At a value which is around 90, I'm able to get the 95% of the variation. So I'm going to use the 95 components only. Okay. I'm going to use the 95 component only, not more than that. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to apply this eigenfaces. We are going to see these variations. Variations we are able to get. Index 20 is out of bound because I'm taking here 20 images only or 20 components only. I'm going to take here 150. Okay. So you can see these images. Now I'm changing this test data. I'm applying this PCA on these training points. Okay. I'm going to apply this PCA on these training points. Okay. So you can see that PCA does transform xtrain. Okay. And after getting a transform data, this is xtrain underscore PCA. I'm going to apply my kernel or SVM. Okay. The kernel is RBF, the value of C is 1000 and the value of gamma is 0.001, the minimum value of gamma. Okay. I'm applying my machine learning model SVM support vector machine, which I have already seen. Okay. I'm applying this support vector. Okay. And applying this support vector on xtrain.pca and bytrain, the actual output, so that or the actual target values. Now let's try to get a classification report. Okay. Let's try to get a classification report, and here I'm also checking the how much time it is required, how much time we are going to take. If we are getting a lower amount of accuracy, then we can increase our numbers of components. Here I've taken number of components to be 50, 150. If you are getting a lower amount of accuracy, then you can increase the number of components. So to get a higher amount of accuracy, so see here. So in this case, I have done my total processing in 50.054 seconds. Okay, I'm taking less than a second to process this 400 images. Okay, my precision is 1 in most of the cases. In some values, I have lower precision. Okay, 4950, and the accuracy I'm able to get is 97% accuracy, which is a very good model. Okay, and the accuracy I'm able to get is 97% accuracy. Okay, I'm able to get a 97% accuracy. Okay, and I'm checking all these values. Okay, you can see that I'm checking the classification report on by test and by predicted value. I'm checking the classification report on by test and by predicted values. You can see here I'm again performing the PCA on X test value so that to get a by predicted values. So to get a by predicted value. Okay, any doubt to anyone? So what I can do is in future I can provide any image or I can provide an array of that image so to get the output that this image belongs to which particular person. So that to get an output that this image belongs to which particular person. Anyone having any type of doubt? If you are not able to understand PCA, I have also provided you some of the links, the Wikipedia link and the Stack of Exchange link, where in layman terms it has explained what is PCA. In the Stack Exchange link, in layman's term it has written that what is PCA. If you have some confusion about the PCA, you'll get to understand that you'll be able to clear that from this documentation. Okay, and still if you are not able to clear the understanding of PCA, then you can ask me in the next class itself. Okay, and still if you are not able to get the use of PCA, then you can ask me in the next class. The main work of PCA is just to reduce dimension so that we can decrease our computational time and cost. Okay, just to reduce dimension so that we can decrease our computational time and cost. Okay, because you can see that from 400 images, I'm just taking 150 images. From 400 images, I'm just taking 150 images to classify all the 40 different persons accurately. And you can see that accuracy of my model is also 97%. Okay, anyone having any type of doubt? Anyone is having any type of doubt? Please let me know in the chat. Yes, SVR support accuracy. Accuracy is both for linear for classification and regression problem, both the things. I think most of you have done your assignment of bind data set. In that also you will be able to get an accuracy of more than 95%. Send me a screenshot of that on your mail and we'll let you in. We'll check and let you know. Okay. You must be applying the classification model, not the support vector regression model on that. Because if you will be seeing that linear regression PDF I have sent you, in that linear regression PDF I have also find the regression or I have also find the accuracy. In your linear regression model, I have also find the accuracy. Okay, that's all for today now. So what is your assignment is to create your own data set. Okay, I'm not going to provide you this data set, OIL data set. You have to create your own data set. You can take photo of yourself and your family members and your friends. Take 10 photos of yourself and 10 photos of your family members and your friends. Try to have at least 3 to 4 different photos or 3 to 4 photos of different persons, and for each person try to have 5 to 6 photos, and then try to apply this face detection model. Okay, then try to apply this PCA and face detection model on that dataset which you have created, and then submit me your assignment. In that assignment you have to submit your dataset also, and then your Jupyter file and PY file also. Okay, so you have to create a dataset of your own, so that whenever you are going to join any industry, then you will know that how to create your own dataset and how to work on that particular dataset. Will be able to use that same dataset which you are going to create here in the face recognition in the deep learning part. In the you will going to use the same dataset which you are able to create here in the convolution neural network part, which is part of your deep learning. Okay, so create your own data set and try to find the accuracy on that particular data set. and the R square value is similar to your accuracy value for your regression model. Okay. Okay. Thank you for joining, everyone. We'll stop this class here.